Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. I am very excited because today we are here talking to one of the best catchers in Major League Baseball, and heck, one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, Shea Langeliers. Shea, welcome.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, I'll start it right off. So, you, as I mentioned, you're one of the best catchers in Major League Baseball. Catching is probably the most difficult thing to do for a baseball team. You have to be in charge of what's happening on the field when you're behind the plate. And then, of course, you have to contribute at the plate. You are already one of the best offensive catchers in baseball statistically. What do you enjoy more as a catcher? Do you enjoy the hitting? Do you enjoy the catching and working with the pitchers and the defense? What's your favorite aspect of your position these days?
Yeah, I think any baseball will tell you, or any baseball player would tell you that obviously hitting's fun, especially when things are going well. But I think on the flip side of that, I think catchers across the league would all tell you that they take their position very seriously, and it's probably the number one priority for all of us. The most important thing night in and night out is getting the pitching staff going, getting them in a rhythm, building their confidence, being there, like you said, you're in every pitch.
Yeah.
You get that stuff going, you're putting your team in a better spot.
Um, I've met a lot of catchers in my day, and a lot of catchers become really good managers. Is that just because when you're a catcher, you have to just know everything that's going on? You have to know pitching, you have to know defensive positioning, you need to know situational stuff, you need to know how to approach hitting. Is that what makes catchers such great managers?
Yeah, I think so. I think just being involved in every pitch, night in, night out, you get to the point where like when I first when I debuted, it was kind of like you feel overwhelmed with all the information and all the scouting reports and all that stuff. And then you get to a point where you feel like you're ahead of it now. You're a couple steps ahead. You've got a plan. You're trying to stick to it. You've got plan A, B, and C,
Mm.
so just being adaptable in that way. And then obviously just knowing all the information. I think that's why a lot of catchers turn into great managers.
So I want to, as we speak now, it's late January. Where are you? Like, what are you? Are you like full? Preparing for the season, working out constantly? Are you already like at the facility? Are you sort of still, sort of maybe pacing yourself because of the rigors of a major league season, especially as a catcher? Like, what are you doing these days to prepare for the upcoming 2026 season?
Yeah. So, beginning of the off season, the first 2 weeks or so, I take completely off and kind of just golf, watch football, watch the playoff baseball, things like that. Um, and then for the rest of the off season, it's pretty much just lifting and running and things like that. And then I would say usually maybe halfway through December, week or so before Christmas, you start getting into baseball activity real light.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think for me, it's more like at this point, I wouldn't say I'm full go, but I'm doing everything, but I am pacing myself. I'm getting ready for spring training.
Is it true that your name is a direct reference to Shea Stadium of the home of the Mets from the late '60s to the, I guess, early 2000s?
Yeah, that is correct.
Wow, so your parents were big Mets fans, I guess.
My dad was a huge Mets fan.
Well, as a fellow Mets fan, all I can say is, oof, it's not easy to be a Mets fan.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, growing up, was baseball something that you loved like right from the start, or is it something that sort of came to you as you grew up?
Yeah, pretty much right from the start. Obviously, my dad loved baseball. Grew up from as early as I can remember, hitting balls, throwing balls with my dad. Just kind of fell in love with the game myself, and then kind of knew early on that, plan A was to, try and be a major league baseball player, and then obviously you adjust if things don't work out. But yeah, from a really early age, is baseball was my love for sure.
Now, you were originally drafted in 2016 by the Blue Jays. I believe that was the 34th round. You chose, if I have my information correct, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, you chose to actually go to college and go to Baylor. So I'm curious, what went into that decision? And I'm sure looking back, it was the right decision. But is there, you know, not only what went into the decision, but over the course of the couple years before you were drafted later on, did you feel the whole time that was the right path for you?
Um, I would say pretty much the whole time. Just looking like reflecting on back in high school, what I kind of where my head was at. I knew I wanted to go to college. Obviously, in certain situations, taking the draft out of high school would be the right thing to do. But I kind of felt the closer I got to getting drafted out of high school, the more I felt inclined I wanted to go to college and get 3 years of experience there and kind of develop further into who I was as a man and as a player.
So, how would you describe your college career at Baylor? And my son is currently in college right now, so I'm even more sort of curious. Like, are there some moments that really stand out to you, either on the field or off, or both? That really stand out to you about your college career at Baylor?
I think the biggest thing, being a student athlete and having to deal with the classes and all the practices and the workouts and the games, you really learn the skill of time management and
Mm.
keeping all your things in order. And it's kind of like it's not really learned; it's kind of just forced upon you. You kind of have to figure it out
Yeah,
on the fly. You figure out what works for you, and it's kind of like that next step in the maturation process. And then obviously for me, I was blessed. I met my now wife my first class in college. So obviously going to college was the right move for me.
I did the same thing. Met my wife in college 30 years later. Man,
Yeah, there you go.
time moves quickly. So you
Hmm.
were an engineering major at Baylor, right? That's a big like that's a really complicated major at a really prestigious university. I mean, I know catchers are smart, but that's a whole different level, of intelligence required to study engineering. Is that something that you really, really were interested in? And perhaps had your Major League Baseball career not happen as it has, would you have considered being an engineer? Like, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. What actually happened, my whole freshman year, and then going into my sophomore year, I was an engineering major,
Hmm.
and then the hours, especially in season, were getting kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
I wound up switching majors to kinesiology,
Okay.
um, the back end of my sophomore year, and then my junior year, obviously. But yeah, I think it's kind of like I've always been, I would say, simply put, like a numbers guy.
Hmm.
Numbers come pretty easy to me. I find that stuff very interesting, and I'm pretty good with them. So yeah, I think if baseball didn't work out, I'd be doing something along those lines.
Interesting. So you had a terrific career in college, and then in 2019 you were drafted again, but instead of being the 34th round, you were the ninth pick overall. That is quite a jump. And so the Braves drafted you. I just walk me through, if you could, sort of when you were drafted, what you felt, your emotions, and how it all impacted you being such a high draft pick.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy time. We I think the draft, I can't remember exactly what day, but I know the day before the draft, we just got eliminated from the regional at
Oh,
UCLA.
man.
So we're at UCLA. We lose to UCLA. Me and Davis Wenzel
Mm-hmm.
were both expecting to get drafted that next day. So we flew back with the head coach before the rest of the team to make sure we were back for our little draft party that we were putting together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously my whole family came up. Davis's whole family came up. It was a really cool experience. We were up in like one of the nice suites at McLean Stadium, which is the football stadium in Waco, just watching the draft. And then obviously throughout the whole night, me and Davis were just getting calls and having to, everybody's keeping track of what's going on and all that stuff. So it was a little hectic, but looking back, obviously a really cool moment.
Now, it seems like in the last few years, especially the draft, is now held during the All Star
Mhm.
Game Week festivities, and it's become a much bigger television deal. It feels like that was like right before. Do you feel like he kind of got ripped off a little bit?
I mean, maybe a little bit. I wouldn't trade my experience though.
Sure. Yeah. So you had you did play in the minors, but you had, from my perspective, right? A pretty quick ascension. You started out with Rome in AAA in 2019, then the COVID year, which nobody likes to think about or talk about at all. So we'll just blow right past that. Then you were in Mississippi in 2021. I've been in Mississippi in July, by the way.
Oh
Wow,
yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
whole thing.
oh yeah.
And then you had a brief stint in AAA at Gwinnett at the end of that year. And then you were named the minor league player of the year. Like that's a big deal, and that was in at the end of the 2021 season. So how was your, especially now looking back on it, how was your minor league career? What are some of the things that you think you really learned, things that really helped you during those 2 or 3 years become the player that you are now?
Yeah, I think obviously for me personally and in general, I think the Braves do a really good job of developing players in their minor league system. But I think it's gonna sound interesting, I think, but the best thing that happened to me is I got drafted. I went to Rome. Obviously, the hitting coordinator, the catching coordinators, all the guys are coming in and out, to check on the new guys and stuff like that. Those first 2 months that I was in Rome, like the season flew by. Like I was only there for 50, 60 games, whatever it was. But they hardly said any words to me at all. They just let me go out there and play. They let me struggle. And I think that's what kind of helped me the most. It was
Hmm.
like I felt almost that I was searching for help, like I was kind of drowning, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
in low A. Not really questioning if I was good enough or if I belonged there, but letting me struggle and then kind of figuring out how to get out of it on my own. I think that was a huge step for me. And I mean, at the time I was still only 21. And then coming out of that season, I went to Instructs, started working directly with, the coordinators, and they were starting to give input and stuff like that. But they just wanted to see kind of who I was as a person and how I handled stuff. And I think honestly, that's what catapulted my game, and then obviously the mental side of the game as well.
It's interesting because as a fan, right? I'm a fan. I love the game of baseball, but unless you're in the game as a player or a coach or in the front office, you don't really truly understand the intricacies of it. It's interesting to hear you say that they basically let you struggle. I would think that it would be the opposite, that they would almost be like overdoing it with, okay, well, let's get you in the cage and let's measure let's
Mhm.
measure the angle of this and like getting, but you're saying they did the opposite. And clearly the Braves know what they're doing. I find it fascinating that they obviously do that because they think that I assume that's how they think they're going to find out whether a player can actually make it
Yeah.
in the big leagues, right? So I find that very interesting. Do you agree? Do you like that approach looking back, or would you maybe do it a little differently?
Yeah, I like obviously looking how my career has gone. I wouldn't trade anything. I think for me personally, I think it was the right thing to do. There's some guys that are obviously different. But I think that helped me grow as a player, as a man, as a person. And yeah, I think they're, obviously, like you said, they do a really good job. They wanted to figure out who I was, what makes me tick, how I handle failure. Can I show up to the park every day being the same guy, stuff like that.
Interesting. So you're the Braves minor league player of the year. You've rocketed from single A to triple A in just a couple of years. And then in March of 2022, you are part of a huge, like 5 or 6 player trade. The Braves trade you to the Athletics. Like, did that? And again, as fans, we fans have no comprehension of what it means to a human being to be traded, right? Like, you just see trades in the transactions all the time. You don't even think about it. But here you are, you're the minor league player of the year, and it's March, right? It ain't January. It's not December. It's March. Like you're either at spring training, or you're not. Like you're ready to go, and all of a sudden this trade happens. Without trying to like bring up bad memories or anything, I'm just like, what was the impact, and did you see that coming, or was it out of the blue? And how did you process all of that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a little more crazy because it was the first day after the lockout in
Oh my
2020. It was the
gosh,
first day of big league camp.
I had
We had just
wow.
we had just had our 2 hour long compliance meeting about Twitter and
Right.
Instagram, and all that type of stuff. We get out of that, we just start getting into our catching drills, and then I got called into the office to obviously they were going to let me know that I just got traded to the Athletics. So I was caught completely off guard. But it wasn't something like I was mad or angry or anything like that. It was just kind of caught me off guard. Realized, in the situation that was in Atlanta, compared to, the Athletics, I was probably going to get a better opportunity to debut earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to look at everything with a, a positive mindset. It was like, okay, maybe this is in the long run a better thing for me. Just reflecting back on that. But yeah, definitely I was not expecting it. It was sad to leave all my friends and obviously all the coaches that I'd, gotten really close to over there, but everything works out.
So, speaking of your debut, so later that year, August 16th, 2022, your major league debut for the Athletics. Your first Major League Baseball at bat, not just your first at bat, your first pitch. You get a hit. Your
Yeah.
first Major League, like that. I'm curious what that scenario was for you. Like, what were you just like, I'm going to go out there and swing first pitch no matter what? I mean, like, walk me through that you were
Yeah.
approached to that at bat and actually that bat as it happened.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of a funny story. So I obviously MLB debut, I'm super nervous, feeling all the butterflies and stuff like that. Got to debut in Texas, so my whole family's here.
Nice.
Really, really special to have everybody there.
I love it.
I in my own head, I was like, "There's no way I could swing at the first pitch. I got to see one first to
Right.
see if it looks any different, in
Yeah.
in the major league." So, they were getting closer to game time. Tony Kemp comes up to me and he's asking me how I feel, am I nervous, all that stuff, and I'm like, obviously I'm nervous, like, and he told me, "Hey, you're gonna swing at the first pitch," and I was like, "Really? Like you think I should?" And he's like, "You only get one first pitch in your career. You need to swing at it." I was like, all right. So regardless of where that pitch was going to end up, I was swinging.
Well, it must have been a good enough pitch, right? Because you made who was the pitcher in that at bat?
I don't remember his name, but I
Okay.
remember it was a fastball just a touch inside off the plate, and I pulled it
Okay.
right down the field line.
So you're at first base and you're probably like, well, if I had known it was this easy, I probably
But
would have been in the big leagues a while back.
yeah, well, it wound up being a double, but I thought it was foul off the bat, so I was
Okay.
halfway sprinting,
Right.
and then realized the umpire pointed, obviously the ball is fair, so I just took off running. I almost got thrown out at second.
Oh man, that's wild. And then even better, the next night you hit your first big league home run. Like some guys really like it, getting that first hit, that first home run. It takes a week or takes a month, whatever. You just knocked them both right out right away. And that one, if I have it right, was off of again in Texas and off of,
Yep.
if I pronounce his name correctly, Spore, John
Josh
Spores,
Ford,
right?
yeah.
So again, sort of walk me through that at bat. So you've had your first hit, you've had your first at bat, so you don't have, I imagine, the same level of butterflies. So I'm curious what that at bat was like for you.
Yeah. Looking back at that one, Josh Sports has two really good breaking balls, really good curveball, really good slider. And I think I swung, maybe I took the first one, swung at the second one. So I took a strike and then I chased a ball. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, that's one of the best breaking balls I've seen. And then down 0-2, I just remember I saw the ball pop a little bit and it
Mm-hmm.
almost felt kind of like a panic swing, if that makes sense. Just yeah, out of the hand, it was going to be a strike. I had two strikes on me. I swung, and then it wound up going over the fence in right center into the Rangers bullpen, and it's up there for the happiest I've ever felt running around the bases. It was a really cool moment.
Do you have that ball?
I do have that ball.
Awesome.
Well,
Aw-
I don't personally have my father has it.
right, but it's where it needs to be in the
Exactly.
fairway.
It's where
Right.
it's where it needs to be.
You got that authentication sticker on it too, I hope.
Yep, I did.
Beautiful. I love it. So you establish yourself in the major leagues with the Athletics. And then 2023, 2024, 2025, you've just been killing it. 20 plus homers the first couple of years, 30 plus last year, catching and DHing. So from our vantage point, it feels like you really settled in to be a significant contributor right away. But at what point did you really feel comfortable? Like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to perform. I'm in the right place, both mentally, physically. Like, at what point did you really just feel like, all right, I got this?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I think 2023, my first full year, it felt the kind of the whole year just felt overwhelming. Like there was a lot going on. Felt like I was trying to keep my head above water, kind of like just bring my best every night and just figure out like how to compete. Because it felt like sometimes I was overmatched or, trying to do the scouting report on the catching side was just so much information, trying to keep track of that and then go up and hit. So it felt like that whole year, it's like I'd have my moments where I'd have a really good game and then it just struggle for a week. And then trying to balance that out and then going into 2024, built a lot of confidence off that 23 season, especially just as a group too, just everything we went through that year. And then I would say around the All-Star break in 24 is kind of when I hit that next level of confidence, when I kind of the scouting reports were getting easier. The belief in myself was starting to grow, like what I was capable of. And then that I felt like that really trickled over into this past year in 2025.
Now, I still I looked this up like three different times. I do not understand, and I'm not trying to get you angry, I promise you. I don't understand how a catcher who has hit 88 major league home runs in 3 1/3 seasons has not been on an all-star team. Like, I understand there's a certain catcher in Seattle who, like, is kind
Yeah.
right, but like, dude, what the heck? How are you not getting on these all-star games? I don't first of all, I don't appreciate it. But and you were also the futures game MVP. Like, what? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. You need to be on an all-star team this year.
Yeah. Hopefully that comes to fruition. But as of right now, I don't blame anybody because I haven't really put it all together in the first half of a season yet. I've put it together in the second half of
Mm,
most of the season. So
mm.
hopefully I'll be able to put it all together in the first half of the season this year.
Well, I mean, listen, we have in the game Out of the Park Baseball, we have a mode during the season called Perfect Team Live where we can take cards of the different players that we have, and based upon how well they perform in the game that day, you get points. Dude,
Okay.
I had you on my team all year long, and I finished in the top like 200 of all the players because of you. So I just want to thank you because, man, your numbers,
Yeah.
you helped me a lot. So I appreciate that.
No, I'm glad I could help.
I know you're thinking about that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started watching baseball, one of the phrases that I always sort of chuckled, and Tim McCarver, who was the Mets broadcaster for many years, the color commentary, who taught me more about baseball than anyone in the world. One of them, and he was a catcher. One of the many phrases that he used was, "Oh, he runs well for a catcher." Now, speed is a sneaky big skill of yours. Like, you've stolen bases, and you always steal a lot more than you get caught stealing. And you bat leadoff. You have batted leadoff, right? So we've all heard the phrase runs well for a catcher. I think you just run well. So, like, it seems to me that even with everything else you're responsible for, you definitely utilize your speed more than probably any other catcher. Is that something that you really take pride in? Do you work on that, or is it just something where, no, I'm just fast and I just go?
Yeah, I definitely take pride in my base running. I would say stealing bases, I'm getting more comfortable at doing it. It's still, I wouldn't put it up there as a strength for sure. I kind of just go when they tell me to go. But
Well, the fact they tell you to go means
yeah,
something, all right?
that's a good point. That's how I should think about it in the future. They have confidence that I can steal the bag. But I definitely take pride in my base running. Obviously, getting the extra base. It's kind of just something that I grew into. I'd say when I got to college, just getting faster and faster and taking more pride in that and working on it. Because obviously, that extra 90 feet could be the difference in a W or an L.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, you got a guy in your division, Cal Raleigh, who is setting all sorts of records, hitting bombs, really, doing things that you just don't see a lot of catchers do. And so, like, that brings more of a spotlight on the catching position. Do you like that? Do you feel like that's actually good for everybody that he sort of brings that impact and makes sort of everybody look at catchers a little bit differently?
Absolutely. I think, just across the league, I feel like the catchers in itself is kind of its own fraternity within the baseball fraternity. Just like what we touched on at the beginning, the amount of stuff that we go through, pain, blocking, catching night in, night out, and then having to hit on top of that and keep all the scouting reports together. What Cal did this last year, I don't know if we'll ever see another catcher do what he did. It's just like it's one of those unbelievable seasons that I don't think anybody's going to come close to touching what he did this past year. And to be able not only to watch it, but to be in division and have to like try to play against it is obviously, I didn't like it for myself personally having to play against him, but it was such a special season to get to watch for sure.
Again, something else that I just don't think most people can appreciate because you're just not in it. The catchers get beat up so
Mhm.
badly. I mean, they're called the tools of ignorance, for a reason. The catching equipment. But how do you how do you do it? Like I don't even know how else to ask the question. But you get just on a random swing, you'll get cracked in the shoulder, or there'll be a pitch that comes up short that gets your knee. You get right like you take such a beating at that position. How are you able to just take it and get back in there the next day? It seems impossible to me.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a right way to say it or to go about it, but I honestly, I feel like the only way to do it is to just go do it. You know, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
hurt. It's not gonna feel great. You're gonna be uncomfortable. But yeah, it's you. You're the one the back. You're the one back there. The game's gonna, you're gonna keep playing the game. It's gonna move forward with or without you. So, you're in it. And I will like yeah, it does hurt, but there's a certain, I would across the league, or just catchers in general, the personality of catchers is a little different than the rest of them. Maybe we do have some screws loose, but at the same time, I think every catcher would tell you they love doing what they do because it's kind of like we were built to do it.
Is there a catcher, either from when you were a kid or today or both? Is there a catcher who you sort of model your game off of, or you particularly admire?
I mean, when I was growing up, obviously I feel like everybody loves Pudge. I
Mm-hmm.
love Pudge.
Mm-hmm.
But the older I got, the two that I watched all the time were Buster Posey and Yadier Molina.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say that the catching has changed so much since when those guys were in the prime of their careers,
Mm-hmm.
from going from 2 feet to one knee and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to say that I've modeled my catching after those guys, but definitely just watching them catch was so awesome, and they were so good at what they did. Obviously, they were competing to go to World Series year in and year out, both of those guys. So, um, and then obviously Buster Posey winning the MVP, obviously being as elite as he was swinging the bat as he was catching. So those guys were a lot of fun to watch.
And now he's running a team.
Now he's running the team.
Again, those catchers, man, they don't. You guys know the game better than anybody.
Yeah,
I
thinkers, yeah.
I learned that from Kevin Kennedy, who was a catcher for many years and then was a manager, and I did a podcast with him for a few years. And he's the one who he's like every catcher has the ability to be a great manager and a great executive. Do you ever see yourself, in your post career? Obviously, you're so young, you're just getting started, right? But like, do you see yourself after your active playing days are over, potentially moving into a coaching and or an executive type of a role?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. I don't know if going into a front office role would be for me, but definitely going into some sort of coaching or managerial role, I would definitely have some interest in that. But I think at the end of my career, I'll kind of just have to see where I'm at with, you know, my wife and kids and see where all that stuff's at, and if that's something that I would want to spend more time away from my family to do and stuff like that. So obviously that's a question to answer for future
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll let
exactly.
I'll let that guy deal with it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll get you out of here on this. Do you set goals for yourself at the start of every season? And if so, what are some of the goals that you'd potentially be willing to share, with us about what you're looking to accomplish this upcoming 2026 season?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely goals set. I would say I kind of stay away from like hard numbered goals
Mm-hmm.
just because that can kind of work against you in a way. Um, like this past year, for this year, if I set like, I wanted my batting average to be 280. So then it feels like the whole year I'm chasing a 280 batting average. And if I
Right.
don't get there, it feels like I failed.
Right.
When in a lot of ways, there's a lot of other things that I did a lot better than I did the year before. So I don't want to put like a hard number goal out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just, it could be on the hitting side, being more consistent and throwing up more competitive at bats. And then the more competitive at bats you have, the numbers are going to show up for you. Or taking a team at bat, moving a guy over from second with no outs, just stuff like that. Stuff that you can really, if you're going out there night in and night out and you're helping the team win, the numbers are going to be what they're going to be, and they're going to be good numbers. So I would say specifically I could on the catching side, I would want to then take the next step. My framing has gotten a little bit better each year. I want to gradually not maybe yeah, gradually work my way into being a positive framing catcher. And I feel like I'm really close to becoming that. And I think I can take that step this year. So that could be, it could be zero. If I end the year at zero or +1, I'm happy and just keep building off that every year.
So I realized, but you said something that makes me want to ask you one last question. Then I promise to get you out of here.
Yeah, no worries.
The robot umpires are coming, right? Are you pro challenge, pro the eye in the sky getting the final call on balls and strikes, or would you prefer to keep it like it is right now?
I think I'm I don't want a full ABS system.
Okay.
I don't want to take the human element out of the game.
Right.
I'm not anti or pro challenge system, I don't think. Obviously, we've played the game the way that it is for, 100 something years.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily think that there's something major to fix in it. I
Mm-hmm.
think the challenge system could be a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be a good thing. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, just kind of limiting that, I think, to what it's at right now. The two challenges, if you get it right, keep it. It kind of feels like an NFL challenge in a NFL game, like throw the red flag out there. So we'll kind of see where that goes. I think it could be a good thing, but I wouldn't want to go to a full ABS system.
Love it. Shea Langeliers, 2026 MLB All-Star. Let's make this happen, people. Come on. He deserves it. 88 home runs in 3 years. Come on. Who does that? Nobody. Shea, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome. Best of luck this season. We will be rooting for you every single game, and your card will be in my PT Live just about every day. If you're playing, you're going in the lineup. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Have a great season.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me.